both Raj, both you and Fayez, are you both seeking investment for your startup or just general guidance?
I think it will be good for investment. So I started with just advice. Then I think it'll be good because I need to put some advertisement in the website, in the Google.
Yeah.
So I think investment is a good idea if it's possible. Yeah.
If it's possible, yeah. Okay. And Fayez, are you also looking for investment?
Yes, Stuart. Mix of both because I'm in the initial phase of my journey. So wanted to get a bit of guidance before. It's like instead of building full-fledged, I want to validate the idea, understand where the demand is and everything, as along with funding, because it's just not like would help understand both ways.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. What I usually do in these clinics is I usually do kind of 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes of training, but I'll skim through that today. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm under the weather at the moment, so I'm struggling a little bit. I'll skim through that and give you guys more time to ask any questions and cover anything that you want. Because it's just the two of you, just the three of us, and that's the reason I asked about investment, because if you're seeking investment, there are actually about 100 reasons, over 100 reasons, why investors don't invest in startups. It's my job, obviously, to help you cover all of those 100 reasons. And there are some obvious ones which you probably all already know about if you've done any research. But what I wanted to explain to you is, you may have heard of, have you heard of the 3 T's, the TAM, traction and team before? Do you know about those 3 big reasons?
No, sorry.
Okay, fair enough. So you're kind of very new to this area. So typically investors look, the 3 big things they look for. TAM is your market size. How big can you grow? How much money can you make? How much return on investment can they make? Traction is what you've done already, what you've done to prove that this is a good idea. And team is obviously, as it says, the team. And as I said, it's my job to make sure that all of the things are covered to help you get investment, to get you investor ready. And there are those big things, but there are some hidden things as well. And when an investor first sees your opportunity, which might be a pitch deck you sent them, an intro pitch deck, they're asking themselves, what is this? What's the opportunity? What are the risks? And do I like the founder? Looking at the founder, do I like the? The word "like" is kind of loaded here. Bear with me. I'm just going to let someone else in. 1 second. I'm going to say hello to Scania. Oh, hello. Hello. Okay, I let her in, but she's dropped off at the same time. Okay. So just very quickly then. So when I said about liking the founder, there are a number of factors. There are a number of things that you as a founder need to know and do and kind of be when you're speaking to investors. And you've got to be confident and clear and consistent in your in what you're saying. So you've really got to know your numbers, know your strategy, speak with confidence, and that confidence comes from not just practice, but from having done the work to come to that strategy, to get those numbers. And you've got to be consistent, and to do that you have to, again, have done the work and have documented everything, and you've got to appear to be a reliable person. So there are many factors that investors pick up on very, very quickly about you as a founder, as a team, you know, if you're more than one team. So it's not just the practical things that I will help you with. Scania's arrived. Fantastic. It's not just the practical things, it's also you as a founder, helping you as a founder to become mature, to show reliability and confidence and credibility. So you know, just wanted to make you aware that that's equally important as well as your startup. So I'm just going to say hello to Scania. Hi, Scania.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. And have I pronounced your name correctly? Is it Scania or Scania?
Yeah. Yes, Scania.
Fantastic. Hi. Don't know what happened. I let you in, but it took about 2 minutes for you to come in. Was that your end or my end, do you think?
Oh, I think that was probably my end as well, because I didn't see anything change. So I apologize for my tardiness.
No, don't worry about that. You'll get a recording of the call. We've got a couple of other guys on the call with us, but I think there are technical problems today because we've got 12 people registered, but there's only 3 of you. But that's even better for the 3 of you. You can I was just very quickly going over something, you know, just a little bit of sort of training for Raj and Fayez. You can watch the recording for that. I'll finish that off and we'll get to questions, I think, today because of the problems that we're having. But in summary, I was just trying to convey that, as well as, you know, when you're speaking to investors, as well as the sort of logical, the numbers and the risks and the opportunity size, etc., and the what is the problem you're solving, you as a founder, your maturity, your reliability, your confidence, your clarity, your consistency, those things are equally important when speaking with investors.
Right.
And I can help with these things. I do help many founders with these things as well. It's because it's critically important, because when you're speaking to an investor, they'll very quickly pick up on these things, and they won't even get to ask the questions about what traction have you got, what's your unfair advantage, what's the, you know, your TAM, SAM, and so on, if they don't get that warm fuzzy feeling from you as a founder. So yeah, I'll wrap that up. Guys, were there any questions on that particular nugget before we dive into your own individual questions? I'll take that as a no. So do you want to, should we go around the room and you'll introduce yourselves very, very briefly, and then perhaps once we've done that, I'll get on to questions. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. Scania, as you're unmuted, I'm going to start with you. Just if you could just spend 1 minute telling us about yourself, your startup, and the stage you're at.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Scania Florestal. I am the CEO and founder of HBCU Made, also known as Made. We are building an ecosystem for colleges and universities, particularly around their alumni, to bridge the gap between the alumni and the institutions for fundraising initiatives, data collection, things, and just community building. So right now we have a social media app. We use social media as our moat, ultimately to galvanize our alumni. Primarily, we're focused on historically Black colleges and universities. We have about 3,500 users on our platform. We're on iOS and Android. We've raised about 185K. We're still looking to close our pre-seed of 500K. We have a 315K gap. And I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm trying to think what else. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I guess our team right now is just myself and my overseas dev team. I did Techstars 2 years ago, hired a whole team, felt like that was a waste of 185K. And so now I'm just still trucking along, and it's just me. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, very. Thank you. So you're in the middle of the pre-seed raise. You've got a product. You've got some pilot users. You're kind of at that very beginning stage, but you want to raise money to, I guess, polish the product and do marketing activities and sales activities.
Actually, the part that I miss is we are a two-sided marketplace. So we have our social network on one end and we have our B2B platform on the other end. That's what the B2B platform is, what we sell directly to the universities, and they ultimately are able to collect the data from our platform to have updated information on who their alumni are. Right. So that's the component we have yet to build, and that's what the remaining of the pre-seed would fund.
Okay, and have you validated that? Have you, have you got, for example, letters of intent, or at least had conversations with universities about the need for this?
Yes, actually, a few presidents have called me a genius. I've been called brilliant. However, a few institutions actually last year, we had about 5 HBCUs that we spoke to that were ready to pay us upwards from 25K to 75K for our product. However, because of funding, they wanted to see and utilize the product before they could invest that amount into, and they wanted to demo it. And because we did not have it built yet, we were unable to close our pre-seed. I was able to kind of use AI to kind of create some prototypes of what it would look like, but it wasn't clickable for them to like really utilize and play around with. So we still talk. I still keep them abreast, but they can't pay for something that they can't see.
Yeah. There are some ways around that. I won't dive into massive detail now, but for example, you can outlay a small amount of money to get a clickable prototype, which might be good enough for them. Mm-hmm. In addition, if they sort of agree that the clickable prototype is kind of good enough, you could sweeten the deal by saying, okay, we'll give you a hefty discount for the first X number of years, 1 year, 2 year, 3, whatever, if you come in as an early adopter, allowing us to build out the product. So, get them involved as a sort of, there's a number of ways of calling these people, early adopter, maybe even give them some equity, investor, as investor. I don't know if universities do this, but, these are just off the top of my head without diving into detail and thinking more deeply. But there are potentially ways of getting money out of these people, which might speed things up, reduce how much other investment you need. If what did you say, you're short by $300,000?
$315 for our pre-seed. Overall, we're looking to raise $5 million, but I had broken it down into pre-seed, seed, and a Series A.
Okay. And you can split it down further potentially, because you could probably build the full product for under $100,000.
Yeah. So yes, if we could even raise $100,000 today, that would be extremely helpful. Especially, so when I started this, or when we did Techstars and we started to garner investment in 2024, AI was not as evolved as it is today, and so $100,000 today would, if I could take that same $100,000 today, it would take us much further.
Okay. And how many investors have pledged the, I think you said 185,000?
That was a total of 4 investors. So Techstars invested 120K through the program. And then we had 3 other investors who we raised 65K.
Okay, because you can, obviously you're having conversations with them, you're keeping them engaged and building a relationship. You could have a discussion with them around closing the round at $200,000, for example, building out the product and then doing a second round for the remainder 300,000 for the marketing side of things. And then if you get letters of intent from the people, if you can't go down this route of, okay, we'll give you a discount, if you're an early adopter or if you're an investor, the universities I'm talking about, and the clickable prototype's enough for now. If you can't go down that route, then you can get letters of intent from them at least. And that will give the investors confidence that if you close the round at $200,000, once you've built the product, you've then got paying customers because you've got these letters of intent. So there are kind of ways around this kind of barrier you seem to have hit.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Skania. And I'll come on to your actual questions in a minute. Fayez, are you able to tell us a little bit about yourself and your startup?
Hi, Stuart. Yeah, I can. Probably sorry for the background noise. I'm on the school run, but
No problem.
it's short and concise. So my one is an IT consultancy-based company. I've been in IT more than 12 plus years. So this is an ecosystem of a bunch of apps for B2B specifically. The problem here they have, which I've seen myself, is regarding how they go to market and during the process, how they able to create a quality product and the risk they involved in it, they can't able to measure it properly. So created a couple of apps which measure that. So I have created some prototypes, not prototype, but they actually work in live now. But I did do some validation on using Google Ads as well as some free tools to my IT consultancy, the parent company. So did validated few ideas. But I think more than funding, I feel like if I can able to secure B2B contracts, that will be something which will help me to secure my first client.
Go. Let's go.
Okay. And so you, if I've understood you correctly, and it was a little hard to hear you, apologies. You're saying you have a prototype product that is in use. That's an actual product that's in use, and the idea is it helps businesses to manage the risk around launching a product.
That's right. Yeah, I have a prototype which with the dashboard showing the metrics, what they can measure, where they see how the quality is before they can go to market.
Okay. And you said you've done some research through Google. Have you actually reached out to potential customers and had conversations with them?
And I did email LinkedIn to a few CEOs, CTOs, but haven't had much response. But also like build some funnels, so giving people free tools to be able to navigate them to my site, which is a bigger actual business, but also giving them some freebies so that some of them what the value would be there if they go with me.
Okay. A few things to say about that is, first of all, you said I've contacted a couple of CEOs. I mean, statistically, you probably will only even hear back from around 5% of people. So you wouldn't expect even one response until you've emailed 20, on average, talking.
Yeah, that's true. I was still trying to see if I can able to not do cold call emails, but to overcome my inhibitions about the marketing strategy. So, but yeah, like you said, you have to have 20 no's or 50 no's. I don't know how many before you get one yes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So I
and
still need to work on them.
yeah, but more than that, you are building relationships with potential customers. So you can't dive in cold and say, "Hey, will you buy my product?" Or, can I have some, half an hour of your time? You've got to softly, softly
Yeah,
approach.
absolutely. So yeah, part of that also I'm projecting my LinkedIn uh, profile as well to make sure people look at me as that leader, not just somebody
Yeah,
who just
good,
selling tools. So yeah,
good. Yeah, so you're putting out some posts with thought leadership stuff around the risks of go-to-market. It doesn't just have to be LinkedIn. It can be Facebook, for example. CEOs do use Facebook, for example. You can do a poll, but LinkedIn would seem ideal for this. And the great thing about a poll is it's very, very easy for someone to answer a question, especially if it talks to them. If they are the person you're aiming it at, and it's an emotive, a sort of a question that is something they're frustrated or worried about, or care about in some way. So just a simple question that stops the scroll, speaks directly to them, and allows them to just click, a yes, no, or a 1, 2, 3 options, whatever. Then you've got the very beginnings of that relationship, because you can reach out. You can see who's clicked. You can reach out. Thanks for my poll. I'd love to know more. And you've got to put yourself in their shoes. People say, "What is in it for me?" Not ask them anything too much. Ask them the smallest thing you can. Gradually building that relationship up, getting more information. It's got to be about them, not about you. It's got to be about what they're getting, what they want, what their problems are, and then ultimately get to a point where you have a conversation with them and ask them questions. And if you can get to that point, there are many benefits of having that conversation. Ultimately, potential customer, LOI, but there are other benefits too. And be very, very clear on the problem, because you were talking, like most founders do, on features, dashboards and things like that, but be really, really clear on the benefit. What is the problem I'm solving? What's the benefit of what I'm doing? And we were talking earlier, I think before Scania joined us, about giving investors that confidence, the clarity, the consistency. That same holds true when talking to customers as well, about, this is the problem we're solving. We will solve this problem for you. But that comes slightly later, when you've understood what the customer's needs are. Okay, and sorry, I'm just trying to think back to what you told me. Where's the gap right now? What is it that you currently need right now?
I found this call.
It's okay. I remember who runs.
sorry.
Worries, no problem.
The gap. I am in a permanent position now because I don't look like I shouldn't be looking like I'm selling something to somebody else. So I need to be in a way so that people don't see me. I'm a salesy person in my position at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I want to avoid it. But in
Yeah.
a position myself that I'm still able to build my company and my app. So that's where the gap I feel in terms of me doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
This is the business to business. I think I'm still in the initial phase of doing the validation, going through all that steps, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, from your point of view, I mean, I don't want to solutionize more. I want to understand the customer more, like you said. What's the best way to approach this one to even get to that
Yeah.
When
So
before somebody says yes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can't do too much research. However, you can take too long before you start something else, if you know what I mean. And every person, you know, if you can't reach your potential customers and you can't grab their attention somehow and have some kind of interaction with them, how will you sell your product? You know, you won't, if you can't get them to reply to a poll or, you know, notice you, you're not going to sell them your product. So doing that is proof that you can reach those people. You're going to the right places. You've got the right message, and then speaking to them helps you understand what their burning need is, and they will then, you know, if you can meet that burning need, they'll become a potential customer. Which is why you can't do too much of this, because if you jump, a lot of founders do is they jump to a product and they try to sell it. You know, you'll spend ages building a product and not knowing if you can reach out to people. Now, whilst you're doing this, you don't have to tell the world you're selling the solution to this. You can, as you said, position yourself as an expert in this area, thought leader in this area, start to build your network in this area and build those relationships. You can even start talking to investors in this area, but make it totally clear that you are not, I think you said you're looking for investment, but make it totally clear you're not looking for investment just yet, but you just want to, you know, connect and say hello and just let them know, would they like to have occasional updates from you about your progress, that kind of thing. So it is possible to connect to investors. And again, you've got to be respectful of their time, not intrusive, think of it from their point of view, that kind of thing. But in terms of working for someone else, one thing to say is, if you were to get investment, almost certainly you would be expected to leave, you know, and focus entirely on your startup. Now, you also mentioned, I think you've got an IT services company. So an investor will want you to focus totally on the startup. So you have to set things up in a way that that is possible for you personally, you know, financially and otherwise. You may have other obligations, I don't know. So, you know, these are all little things. You know, I'll help with all of it. I help with all of these things, but just be mindful of the fact that that'll be a requirement if you go for investment. If you don't go for investment, you can do what you like, but obviously customers can become nervous if you are unresponsive with support calls or sales calls or things like that. And sorry, I'm rambling on a little bit.
Yes, I think those are very valid points. I do consider that when I want to move into more of an independent person, not working for somebody else. So which is obviously I was there for till up to December, just moved into a permanent position, which happened to got this opportunity. I thought while I'm building it, if I can get some sort of stability before I move back or get something working.
Yeah.
So which is absolutely fine. I think that's something which is on the horizon to even quit it at some point. But yeah, probably building like a connections, building the trust, as well as not focusing on the product, but focusing on connections. Like you said, is more priority for me. And once I get to that point where, yeah, when I'm ready for the investments, and then I'll quit that job and jump into it.
Yeah, and think about your critical path. Think about, okay, where do I want to get to? And maybe when, by, but maybe not, you know, maybe you don't care about how long it takes. Think about the steps needed along that critical path. But in your case, I would, because you are, you know, you have kind of half a hand tied behind your back because you're working for someone else. I would think carefully about maximizing these steps you have to do along the critical path. You want them to succeed and you want to be ready for them, you know, so you don't want to have a really, really long time where you're not earning money, for example, before you get investment. So think about how to shorten that time and increase the chances of success. So, for example, doing more research before you, before you try and get investment, or before you give up your job, but think about the steps. Map it out where you want to get to. What are the steps to get there? The critical path, and then maybe the other things. And again, I can help with all of this because there are, unfortunately. And Scania is a little bit further down the line, so she's well aware of this. There are many, many, many things that a founder has to do, proactive and reactively. But identify that critical path, the thing that moves you towards your goal more, and like I say, do as much as you can to make sure that you can kind of hit the ground running when you do give up your job, which might be when you get investment. What can you do before you get investment? But you talked about being seen on LinkedIn as a founder of a startup when you're working for someone else, and that's always a tricky situation. But different people take different views on it. Your employer will take a different view on that, potentially. So there will come a time when you'll need to speak to them and be open and honest with them. But you have to navigate that really carefully. So you kind of want to reassure them that you're not going to lose focus on the work you're doing for them until you leave, kind of thing. But at the same time, you can knock their confidence. So be careful there.
Yeah, absolutely. I will not do that until I am very careful and have that chat with them. Obviously, that's the reason I don't want to first do the right steps, like you mentioned, follow the steps, get to that point when I know I'm more secure enough to then quit it. And obviously with that connections in progress and have any funding on the horizon, then I know that's the time to tell the client and come out of it, then focus fully on this one. So a bit of longer journey, but it should be something like that, like you said, Stuart. So I am aware of that. But great that you mentioned that, because that helps me to and see that in myself again. So, but I am not there where Scania is there, but that's great to hear from her what she has just mentioned. And good luck to her, good luck to everybody.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. Okay, so quickly I will ask Raj to sort of repeat what he's already told me, and then we'll perhaps cover some of your questions, some of your additional questions. So hi Raj.
Hi.
If I understood you correctly, you're creating a set of tools to make people's or businesses' use of the internet easier.
Yeah, actually, it is not exactly business. It's for end users. It's targeting the end users, like everyday people. So I think my website is a little bit similar to what Fayaz told, a set of tools. I think he's also doing something like that. So this is actually targeting users, and a lot of people, users, they search in internet, in Google for getting something, and they find many results. And when they go into that, there will be some friction along the path. For example, if they,
all right, and I'll ask you what I asked Fayaz. What's the gap? What is it right now that you're having a problem with, or that you need, or you have a question about?
So right now, I think the scalability is the gap. So today I had shown that website, a demo to my company, my developers. I'm a software developer in 9 years experience. So we have a team, and I just demoed to them for, there are some tools which help the developers. So they just go to Google and search those tools, and they use, and then they will not bookmark or anything. They go, and next time when they want to use, they search again. So instead of that, it will, this website I created, it consolidate number of tools that used by developers every day. So if they want to come, instead of going through the friction and use that tools, this is a bit easier. Even tools also a bit easier
Okay.
It's not.
Okay. So why are you, so tools for developers? So why are you saying that scalability is your main gap?
Well, at the moment, only a few people I told face to face they know about my website. So to
It's
get
more
into a
market. Are you
industrial,
saying?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So yeah. What worries me with you a little bit is you seem to be wanting to help everyone do everything, which is not a good place. For you, I would say
Okay.
focus on one type of person. Focus on one problem that they've got.
Okay.
Validate that problem, i.e., speak to that type of person about that problem. Validate that problem, and
Okay.
focus. And then you've got the tool for that to start with. Then you'll market around that problem. Because if you had an advert, if I had an advert popping up saying, "Whoever you are, I can help you with whatever problem you've got," I would ignore it.
Okay.
Whereas if I saw an advert that said, "Are you a developer that struggles to create QR codes in your apps?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's me. I'm a developer. Yeah, that's a problem I've got actually. I'll click on this." So the more you niche down, both in terms of the person you're helping and the problem you're helping with, the more you can specialize your messaging, both in terms of your validation when you're reaching out to people, talking about it, but also in terms of your marketing, the more you can narrow down, laser focus on one thing initially. I'm not saying forever.
Okay.
The more likely success you have, because I hear you talking and I feel like this is a cool tool and that's a cool tool and I would use this and I would use that. But in my experience, you will really, really struggle to connect and engage with those people who have that need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe probably I start focusing on developers because that's the area of I'm working and have some friends also. So
exactly.
So I know what exactly the problems are here.
You know the problem, you know the people, you've got that network, you can validate, you can have early adopters, you can easily reach out to those people. They're more likely to respond to you because you are the same person. So, start with the low-hanging fruit. Okay, all right, fantastic. I'll come back to you if we have time. But Scania, did you have any more questions?
Not really. I guess most of my challenge right now is given the current climate, I am very concerned when it comes to fundraising, and if I'll be able to truly raise the capital that is needed to continuing this. And so I've kind of been discouraged when it comes to fundraising, to be honest, because so just for context, so 2024, things are going great. And I guess, given the political climate and Kamala Harris attending an HBCU, we had a lot of traction where people wanted to invest in us because they thought she would be the next president. And we know the results of that. And so those conversations really started to come far and few in between because people were holding onto their purses and their pocketbooks like, well, we don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs, with everything. And so now that there's still a lot of uncertainty, but we're a little bit on the other side of that now. I've gone through a year of pretty much out of runway, at my wit's end, and I think I'm a little exhausted personally. I'm a little exhausted. I'm still doing the work, but if I'm honest, I don't have a desire to pitch. I just want someone to give me the money. And so I just so I'm kind of like at a crossroads roads
Mhm.
where I'm just kind of like, how do I keep this engine going financially, because it's starting to become a black hole. And I've been doing this full time, and so that can just kind of tell you personally how fiscally draining this has been. So I'm trying to figure out really what's next. I have toggled with the idea of doing an equity crowdfund. I just don't have the energy to market the way I know equity crowdfunds take, along with building the company myself. And so I guess that's kind of like the dilemma that I'm in. I feel like I'm back in this catch-22 that people love to talk about, between like the chicken and the egg. And before Techstars, I had like 1,000 users on our beta, and people were like, oh, well, you need more users, you need this platform, blah, blah, blah. And now like we have over 3,000 users, and it's still like, we still need more users. And I don't know if it's users that we need or we need paid customers, but I don't know how to build the SaaS product in a way that is going to be cost efficient enough that I can get paying clients. So I have kind of stepped away from the B2B model right now to focus on what I do have. So internally, we've been making some drastic changes to the app. We have making it more user friendly. So I'm actually very proud of what we're about to release in the next few days or weeks. UX, UI wise. However, I don't know if that's going to draw usership, but I've also been looking at strategic partnerships to kind of give value to our users that they would maybe be interested in paying a subscription for premium events or in real life experiences outside of the digital space. So that's kind of where my mind has been leaning. However, it's just been challenging, because like even this morning I received an invoice for our dev team, and I'm like, well, I don't know who's gonna pay for this. So yeah.
Okay. So, gosh, a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, sorry.
But
Sorry to jump on you.
No, that's okay. Well, that's kind of what my community is for. It's what I'm here for. It's not just practical.
Mm-hmm.
I help many founders. I don't know how many, I haven't counted recently, but a big problem is that kind of the challenge of keeping going, that resilience. And that's what being in a community and working with people like myself, it helps with.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I'm struggling today. It's like, okay, that's okay, and you get that reassurance and that, but know this, you're not alone in that. And the trick is, one of the tricks, and there's a lot to unpack in what you're saying, but one of the tricks is to try to reduce the focus down to as few things as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we were talking about critical path earlier. At the same time, be clear on your next goal, next sort of big goal, and what you need to do to get there. But context of the bigger goal, so you're saying, I think you said you're working on this full time. So I'm assuming your bigger goal, or your first big goal, is to bring in enough money to pay you and to pay your costs.
Yes.
So you talked about value to the end user. That's good, because that's an important question. Is there currently value to those 3,500 people that are using it? Are they getting value even though you haven't got any universities yet on board?
So it's interesting, because when I send out surveys, I don't know if we've kind of lost momentum. Before I used to send out surveys and we would get at least 100 people to fill them out. Now I can barely get 5. And so I don't know if people are still using the app. I can kind of tell when I see people posting. I tried to follow everyone or kind of look at the back end metrics to see how often people are on the app. And but then I may not see them posting, but I randomly will run into people and they'll tell me that they met someone or they were looking to connect with someone. So there are connections that are happening. I just don't know about every connection that's happening. And so I do hear testimonials and value. And it's funny because it's interesting that people know what we're doing, and people, like I was at an event last week and trying to get press for us, and the editor-in-chief of the AJC, the Atlanta something Chronicles, he knew exactly who I was and what we're doing. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know that they were familiar with us, right? Because I had never seen this man a day in my life before. So it was just very, so people, we've been doing things. We've been, like, a few weeks ago, we did an event. We've been doing a lot of things, and I've been building this community since 2000. So,
okay.
We have a large email list. We're just, so I mean, I do, like, sorry to be long-winded to answer your question, but yes, I do know there's value. I just don't know specifically how that value is quantified across my users, and people just have not been filling out surveys. So I get random, like, oh, I've met you before. Oh, I'm on your app, or that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, because in an ideal world, you will have built stats, built analytics into the app itself, so that you can analyze usage, and then you can see trends. You can also see what initiatives you do make a difference to that. Because it sounds like there's a lot of activity going on, but you're kind of not sure what to focus on, but also not sure what activity you do makes an actual difference.
Right.
And I come back to sort of trying to, everything you do should try to move you towards your goal, your next goal, or a goal. But sometimes, you need to really laser focus on the next goal, because if you don't hit that goal, you'll never hit any future goals,
Right.
And the reason I asked you about value was because then if there's value, you could potentially monetize. But there's value, there's hopefully engagement. And if there's engagement, there's more options for monetization. For example, ads or either standard ads or maybe affiliates. You would have affiliates that advertise on your site, sponsors, things like that.
I actually have not thought about the affiliate side. I need to do a little bit more research on that. That's actually a great idea. I did present to the dev team last week the option to add advertising. So once we launched this version, I'm a UX UI designer, so I've been able to cut costs a little bit there. And then AI has been tremendous because it gets better and better every day. So I was able to kind of create a mock-up of what our sponsor ads within the app should look like. And so because we have an email list of over 14,000 people, we've only converted a little less than what, I don't know. We haven't converted a large percentage of that. So sometimes last year we did have some companies that were like, oh, we're interested in doing some advertising. Can you, how much do you cost for like email marketing, that type of stuff? And now we're trying to figure out how can we create somewhat of an admin advertising portal, but that's actually what the SaaS product is supposed to already do anyways. So I'm trying to find, I don't know. I'm trying to find creative ways financially to get this done. I'm like, man, I probably should have just stopped for 2 years, went to school, learned how to code, and just did this myself. I probably would be a lot further.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm having this conversation a lot actually, but I don't have a lot of time left. However, I've lost my train of thought. Yes, you've got 3,500 users, and the reason I ask about the value and the engagement is, and I'm not, you're absolutely right. To do a crowdfunding campaign properly requires a lot of focus and time and energy, and help probably. But you've got a captive audience who see the value in what you're doing. You can potentially ask them, if I were to do a crowdfunding campaign, ask them what value they're getting, and if not, what value would they like to see? And if they're getting value, or they will get value when you add what they want, would they consider crowdfunding? Investing in a crowdfunding campaign? If so, how much would they consider investing? So you can ask questions. Now, I know you said you barely get 5 responses, but you could chase them up. Because you only need a small number of people, and if you have the conversations with the investors you've got around closing the round out at 200,000 and then using that money to develop the product, potentially crowdfunding the remainder, 15,000 or something, then you've bought yourself some time. But you just got to be careful not to be doing activity and really it's throwaway activity. Don't do activity if it doesn't leverage and move you towards your goal.
Right.
Because I think you talked about like real life events, and really try to, everything you do, try to make it so that it leverages, so that it has ongoing value. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. I do have to go now. In 2 minutes at least. I have a client call, but
thank you.
My pleasure. I'm just thinking. You guys have both spoken to Peter, I think. Did he mention having another call with him to discuss options around working with me?
No, I think this is
maybe.
For me, this is my last. Didn't mention anything after this. This is the last call. Yep. Okay. Well,
I'm going to put a link in the chat window. I don't know if you can see that. Can I suggest booking a call with Pete and discussing options of sort of working more closely with me. I don't know if you guys were looking at my gold or my platinum options when you had the discussion with Pete, but the academy is there are 2 entry options, and one is more of a community, clinics like this, resources, but the platinum option is all of that plus one-to-one help with me to sort of get you through, get your strategy sorted, get you investable. So if you're finding that you need help both logistically and also mindset, and Scania, I totally resonate with what you're saying. I've been through this myself. Then
thank you.
Do book a call with Pete and discuss. He'll answer any questions you've got, and perhaps you might want to consider working more closely with me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, listen, it's been a real pleasure meeting with you. I hopefully see you again. And strictly speaking, we let people join one of these free clinics, but if you do want to join another one, I don't mind. Book another one. That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, have a great day, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.